Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Amanda Gilmar, Security Culture Lead, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming our very own Flavio Villanustre, SVP and CISO. Flavio is a renowned technologist and visionary in the field of information security. With a remarkable career spanning several decades, he has consistently demonstrated his expertise in driving innovation and creating groundbreaking solutions that have transformed the way our organizations handle data and security. Today, Flavio will be walking us through how our 55 plus crowd can utilize technology safely. If you have questions, please add them to the chat throughout the presentation, and I will ask them after he is done. Also, as a reminder, we will be sending a survey out after this webinar, so please be on the lookout for it. We always appreciate your feedback on these events. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Flavio.
Thank you very much, Amanda. And hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this. Even though the title says 55 and older, just because we are all getting older, this is a general talk that can help everyone in some way become more secure in their personal dealings with information and with technology. Technology is developing quite fast. As everyone knows, the rate of innovation is just growing, it's accelerating. And it is sometimes very hard to keep up with technology. Yes, I love innovation and I love new technologies, probably more than most people out there. But every new thing that comes out under the sun has also the opportunity to present new risks. As you use a new technology that you might or might not understand very well, there are potential opportunities for problems with that technology creating risk for you that you didn't expect. So what I'm trying to cover throughout this short presentation is a little bit of what risks are out there, how new technologies can have a positive impact on your life and be very useful. But on the other hand, how some of these new technologies can be tricky to use securely, and what you need to do to be aware and to make the best use, get the best benefits from those technologies without getting yourself exposed to too many risks. Now, as you will see throughout the presentation, there is a pretty prominent spot for social media, and of course, how couldn't it be? Social media is one of the greatest things that happened to humanity, and particularly to those that are becoming older, right? As you become an empty nester and your kids move out and go to form their own families, staying connected with them is sometimes quite challenging. Yeah, surely we used to use the phone before, but now you have the opportunity to not just use the phone and talk to them every few days. Now you can keep up with whatever they are doing, and you can also show them what you are doing using social media. Again, a great new vehicle to communicate people, right? A great new way to link with those that you love, and again, being those your kids, your friends, and your relatives as well, distant relatives even. But all of these things, as I said before, might expose you to risks. So we will go through this and we'll see how you can protect yourself better as technologies continue to evolve. With this, let's go into the first slide. So, as I was saying before, new technologies give you better, more comprehensive communication vehicles. Who doesn't love nowadays to have a video chat with your friends, right? A video talk if your friends don't live close enough. Again, and as we get older, many times it is harder to have full mobility. So this is more of a reason to leverage the things that you can do pretty much from the comfort of your house, right? Sitting at a desk in your house, or even from bed. It's also quite convenient being able to pretty much talk to anyone, regardless where they are at any given time, or communicate in some way. Sometimes synchronously, like we are doing right now in a video conference or a webinar. Sometimes asynchronously, you can use emails, you can use chats, you can use forums, plenty of ways. It also helps you perhaps get yourself closer to those communities of people that are like-minded, people that like the same things that you like, when there is affinity, right? And can keep you active. And even if you, again, for those that are now getting closer to retirement age or have been retired already for some time, being able to still maintain their interests and hobbies and do the things in a community also keeps them sharp and interested and gives them motivation to carry on, right? So these things are absolutely key. And of course, entertainment. I don't think anyone can say today that they can get bored. You can do all of the activities that you did before, including going out and trekking in some hiking path or something like that, or doing sports. But also you can do many additional things now from the comfort of your home, streaming, video streaming services from the top-notch ones like Netflix or Prime or Google Video or any of those to a specific video streaming services for certain interests. There is always an opportunity to find something that is good to watch, right, or to participate in some way. But there are drawbacks, and I mentioned before, technologies as they evolve, they open opportunities for bad people, and the same way they open opportunities for good people to use these things and get them to help them for their own benefit. It can help also those bad people to make a profit or to defraud others. So things that you see today, and these are unfortunately far too common, is scams, identity theft, privacy invasion, and some of these low lives use this to commit some of the most, um, I would say, low blow type of crimes, including romance scams and other things. We will see some of those later on. As you leverage all of these technologies, as we said before, keep in mind that there are some risks, and you need to have those risks always in the front so you avoid falling for them. Now, let's go specifically to those threats, to what those potential opportunities to be affected negatively by these technologies are. And I listed on the left-hand side all of those online threats that tend to be quite commonplace. Without getting into the specific details of the more sophisticated ones, these are the ones that you and we see every day out there. Phishing, I think everyone today nowadays is probably well aware of those emails that are uh, trying to ask them to do something quickly, urgently, with potential sense of fear for repercussion and or that compel them to act based on greed. If you've been around for the past 30 years or so, you probably got quite a few of those Nigerian scam type of scams, right? Where some prince from a remote country is trying to give their money to you. All you need to do is send them some money so that they can give you more money. But of course, they never give you any money. This is a criminal organization, or several of them, that are abusing your greed and um, your trust to get your money and run essentially. Malware, of course, for those that are using new software, it's very likely that you will go and download something. It is quite common on your phones when you download a new app to do something. Well, be always careful because some new apps, if they haven't been properly scanned by the app repository, either the Apple Store or the Google Store, it is possible that they contain malware. Uh, be always very aware of those apps that don't have a large community behind them. And an app that is very widely used is likely that if there is an issue or a Trojan horse or some piece of malware inside, someone will report it and it will quickly be fixed. But those apps that are only used but by very few people that don't have a high reputation, well, I will stay away from those. Those are the ones that give the possibility of malware out there, and especially if those apps have some ability to access something. For example, if you use cryptocurrency and there is a new cryptocurrency wallet out there that doesn't seem to be reputable, well, you should probably not use that. Other apps that tend to be problematic are those that promise something that is not completely legitimate. For example, if you are trying to bypass the copyright on something, or they promise to give you some videos that are supposedly exchanged illegitimately, any of these things that tend to be either in a gray area or illegal or purely legal are more likely to have malware and to potentially compromise you. So stay away as much as you can from those. Use only applications that are reputable, that have been scanned by the iPhone store, the Apple store, or the Google store. And hopefully, if you stay within the ones that are very widely used, you should be fairly safe there. Of course, in your computer itself, run anti-malware, always have some antivirus. Some of those are already free. If you install Windows, Windows Defender is free. So just have Windows Defender enabled and ensure that you at least have that antivirus refreshing signatures regularly. They do that automatically as well. Do not disable that. So keep it enabled by default. Many operating systems nowadays tend to be quite secure because they come with all of these features. Same thing with Mac, already built in. Social engineering, that's another area where, and we will talk about those later on, where you might be affected. There are people out there that are always trying to take advantage of others. And one way to do that is to leverage some of the things that make us human against ourselves, right? And some of those are, well, as humans, we always want to establish relationships with people. We tend to trust others. Well, all of these things can be subverted to essentially expose you and make you vulnerable, so they can take advantage of you. So be careful with people that are trying to befriend you. As I always tell everyone, including my kids, your social media friends are not your friends, really. If you don't know someone face to face, and it's very unlikely that they are really, really, really friends. Stay a little bit skeptical always, and I say that a healthy dose of paranoia is is reasonable nowadays, especially on social media. And if someone is trying to befriend you, there could be ulterior motives for that. So be careful as well. Again, different with your neighbor or with someone that you know face to face, where you can at least look at them in the eyes, and then sometimes you get a good feeling for the other person. In the internet, anyone can be a dog. So be always a little bit skeptical, and have that healthy dose of paranoia. Data breaches, that's another area where it's important to bring awareness, because everyone is affected. So someone can compromise your computer or your phone to get access to your bank account, or your pictures, or your documentation, or your tax reports, or whatever it is that could be valuable if they can use them to their advantage. So always try to keep as much as you can a good security posture, even if it's just by trusting mainstream operating system providers to give you right antivirus and all that. And if there is not one for the platform that you run, try to find one. And many of these antivirus packages, again, reputable again, back to the problem with malware, some malware actors are leveraging low name or no name antivirus out there that they make free for you to use, and then potentially compromise your system. So be careful of those. Try to use big name type antivirus, and always try to protect your data. Try to minimize the amount of data you keep around. If you need to keep data around, well, maybe copy your data to a USB stick and keep it offline, and delete, of course, wipe securely the files that you have in your computer. Um, all of these things are best practice. If you do these things, it is less likely that you will be suffering later on, right? Just saying. Um, Identity theft is another area where sometimes is quite important to pay attention to. Um, Unfortunately, there are data breaches out there. Many times, these data breaches affect companies that you even deal with before, and yet they might have some of your information. Of course, by law, they are obligated to send you a notification of the data breach. They are also obligated to put you in a plan to have credit monitoring, free credit monitoring, and all of this is good. And every time you get one of the notifications, please enroll in free credit monitoring and ensure that you keep an eye on that just in case. But many times the identity theft scenario happens many months or many years after the breach happened, especially if the data is long lived, right? If someone can get access to your name, your address, your phone number, your date of birth, your social security number, your driver license number, they have a high chance to be able to impersonate you, right? Especially if they even know a little bit how you look like, right? And they can pass for you. But even if they don't, because many of the financial transactions are done now online, they could enroll in a bank, get a new bank account as you, and even obtain credit as you, and of course with no intention to pay that credit. So you end up endorsing that loan until you can demonstrate that it wasn't you, that it was an attacker. But this is all pretty significant hassle. It's an annoyance, and sometimes you need to put lawyers on your side just to protect yourself against someone that is just a criminal trying to take over your identity. And ransomware, last but not least, and ransomware takes a number of different ways. The most common one is you get malware through phishing or otherwise in your computer or your phone, and it encrypts your data, your documents, your pictures, everything, and they ask you to pay money to recover that, to get the key to decrypt all of that. But in other cases, they can also exfiltrate your data and then ransom you to release that data. In some cases, they do this even with data that otherwise could be quite hurting for a person because they know the value that that could have. So they are trying to do as much as they can to force you to pay them. My advice would be that you never pay, that you go and see law enforcement instead. But depending on the financial loss, law enforcement might or might not want to get involved. If it's a little financial loss, they might say, no, we don't have enough bandwidth to deal with this. So just keep in mind that ransomware is still a problem there. If you use all of the other hygiene practices that I was mentioning before, you are less likely to be affected by this, but nobody is completely immune, so this could happen, unfortunately. We talked about some of the ways the bad actors manipulate the emotions and try to take advantage of our social skills to vulnerate us, to make us vulnerable, and eventually they take us to the cleaners to make us victims of their crime. So anything that is trying to put a sense of urgency, fear, helpfulness, and or drive your greed is something that should concern you, and this should raise some big red flags out there, right? Hey, what's going on? The alarms in your head should be going off immediately. Um, Typical cases that you see today is, for example, you get a call from someone that seems to be someone you love, and these are especially frequent sometimes among the older population. Maybe they pretend to be your son or your daughter. They say that they got into a very bad situation, or an attorney or a doctor for them. They got into a very bad situation, a car accident or something like that, and they need money to undergo a surgical procedure. And because you might not know where your son or your daughter are, or your wife or husband, or you might just be compelled to do this. And this is all under the pretext of urgency, the fact that they will die otherwise, and how you need to be acting right now, otherwise you are going to be you're not going to forgive yourself of not doing it. Of course, all of these things are just enticing you, forcing you to act irrationally. What you should do at that moment is hang up and contact the person, first of all, to make sure that they are okay. And if this rings all these alarms, go to law enforcement. There are a number of hotlines out there to call if some of these situations happen to you before you give them a dime, right? And certainly, as you see on the right-hand side, that slow down and think before actioning is absolutely at the top. Always have that healthy dose of paranoia. Always think before you act. I know that they are trying to prey on your emotions, and this is how they are forcing to do things without thinking. But don't let them do that. Always take that step back. Always think rationally first, and then you act the way you should act as a rational person. Of course, as you look at some of the other things that we discovered, keep in mind that you get emails that are saying that they are, or SMS, that's the other option, from your bank saying that they are going to close your bank account or bounce a check because they cannot confirm your information, that you need to click on some link. Read the link. And if the link, even if the link says that it's your bank, mouse over the link or do a long press if you're on your phone to see the original URL for that link. Do never, ever click on a link that you receive via email or via SMS without fully verifying it. If it's your bank calling, your bank has a well-known phone number. So hang up and call the well-known phone number. If it's your credit card company, pick up the credit card from your wallet, turn it around, look at the phone number there, and call that phone number. Even if the phone number that is calling you seems to be the same, caller IDs can be faked. So attackers will pretend that they are coming from your bank, and yet they are coming from a completely different place. So always call well-known numbers, scrutinize all URLs and links. Passwords, create always strong passwords, but not just that. Also, if the company provides multi-factor authentication, always use multi-factor authentication. Some companies, especially banks and high-value companies, use this type of multi-factor authentication, YubiKeys or something like that, or authenticators on your phone, applications that run in your phone, like we do for our VPN system, that allow you to use a random number that can be generated with the application. Well, if you have the ability to enable authenticators or YubiKeys, enable those in every account that you can, especially accounts that can be used to recover other accounts. Email, for example, if you have a primary email address, Yahoo, Gmail, MSN, whatever it is, and you use that or you allow to recover any other bank account or any other account with that account, it is absolutely imperative that you protect that email address the most, because that can be used to bypass the security in every other one of your accounts. That should have multi-factor authentication every time, or you can have a significant risk. Of course, regularly backup data, that goes to the ransomware situation. If you have your data backed up and someone encrypts all of your data on your phone or your computer, you can always recover from the backup and you don't care about the attacker anymore. It is important that you have that. And of course, besides, your hard drive can crash. So having a backup is always good practice. And install antivirus. Again, if you use Windows, Windows comes with Defender. Defender works perfect. You don't need to have any other antivirus. If you use Mac OS, I don't know if macOS nowadays brings any antivirus, but if not, there are a few reputable antivirus out there that you can buy for a few dollars a year or something like that that work very well. And any of these antivirus packages tend to have additional protections around identity monitoring and other things that can come handy as well. As long as they are not too expensive, these might be good solutions, but never go with a no-name antivirus. Sometimes those no-name antivirus are worse than not having antivirus at all. One attack that I want to, speaking about no-name antivirus, one attack that I want to highlight right now is the one about tech support. You will have sometimes messages popping up in your screen saying that your computer is compromised with a virus, that you shouldn't do anything and just click on this or call this number. Those are known as tech support scams. They are not Microsoft. Microsoft is not going to contact you. It is not. This is like when you get an email from the IRS and the IRS never contacts you, or from the police department and the police department never contacts you. So those are scammers. The tech support scam works like that. You get a phone number, you call that phone number, or you click on a link. Someone connects on the phone on the other side, which is a call center. Looks very professional, but criminal in nature, and they will tell you to do things to your computer and to check because they are Microsoft. That's what they say. And what they will eventually do is take remote control of your computer, install malware, and then get full control of your system to potentially continue to affect you in the future. And to make things worse, we'll take your money there because they will charge you. Microsoft will be charging you to support you in this endeavor. So do not fall for tech support scams. If anyone ever pretends to be Microsoft and contact you with a pop-up or anything like that, close the pop-up and do not follow that. This attack is done either through malware, one option. The other one is what is known as a watering hole attack. These people buy advertisement from mainstream sites, and instead of advertisement, they put these pop-ups. So when you go there, you get the pop-up. It seems to be from your computer, but it's not. It's just a web page disguised as a pop-up. So just close it and go somewhere else. Do not call those numbers. Microsoft doesn't contact you because your computer is infected. So don't do that. Let's go to the next slide then. So these are some of the more specific scams that tend to target seniors, and they do, and tech support's the top, of course, because they I think assume that seniors might have a harder time dealing with new technologies and that they might be easier prey than younger generations. So tech support scams is one of those. Just make sure that you're absolutely aware. You never fall for this. You never follow whatever pop-up tells you in your computer, and you just close that and check your computer with your antivirus. That's it. Lottery scams are others, and these come in different ways, but essentially tells you that they tell you that you won some prize, and in order to pay that price, you need to pay. In order to get that prize, you need to pay a nominal fee to recover the prize, whatever that is. And eventually, they start taking your money, little by little, and incrementally higher, and you end up falling in sunk cost fallacy because you gave them money originally. Now you have some interest vest in the money that you gave them, so you give them more money to try to recover the other money, but now you lost more money, so now you have more interest vested, so now you give them even more money. That's how they make this big. And sometimes people are off in thousands and thousands of dollars just because of this type of tactic. Keep in mind, these crooks are maybe crooks, but they are very sophisticated and they sound professional. So they know what they are doing and they know how to exploit you. So be always aware. Again, being a little bit paranoid is not a bad thing. Romance scams are others, and these are not just romance, are also befriending and other things. And these people with the pretense of being your friend or trying to become your friend or your love target or something like that, especially people that are alone, they become more vulnerable to these things, and they create a relationship. And they don't ask for money the first day. Sometimes it goes months before they start asking for money. And by the time you think you know them, because you have been chatting with them for months, you really don't know them. And they have been all along trying to prey on you. They do this to hundreds or thousands of people. Each one of these affairs have um, thousands of victims at the same time, and they rotate them. They have their way to encode it to keep track of people and to know when they need to ask you for money. And they ask you for money. The pretext there, the pretense is varying depending on who you are or what your interest is. But it could be things like around, I'm going to lose my house. They typically live far away, so they cannot come in person, of course. Why would they come in person and expose themselves, right? Um, Most times in countries with no extradition, even though they might not say that. Um, and um, and they try to again find what's the most important to you, what you care the most about, and then they exploit specifically that to get your money or worse. So be very careful about that. These scams are quite frequent out there as well. Again, red flags, and I would highlight here is the too good to be true. Um, as the old adagio says, if it's too good to be true, it likely is. So do not fall for these things. Someone offering you lots of money, someone saying that they will do something great for you, or even some of these romance scams. Always know who the person on the other side is before you go any step further. And if you cannot meet them face to face, and I'm not even saying through a video call, because in some cases nowadays with generative AI, they can impersonate someone. They can change their appearance to look like someone else. They can change their voice to mimic the voice of someone that you know. So you might hear the voice of your daughter, but on the other side of the connection is not your daughter. So be careful in this case, um, and always try to have that face-to-face relationship before you consider someone friends. If those people live too far and they cannot talk to you face to face, maybe you shouldn't consider them friends. So just saying. Again, always skeptical. Always have that healthy dose of paranoia. Passwords. So we said you need to have multi-factor authentication. If you can get one of these UV keys for your services, the key service that you use, well, get a UV key. If you can get an authenticator, Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator on your phone for the services, enable those, make them mandatory. But if even if you do that, but of course, more important, if you can do that because the service doesn't offer that, then make sure that you create strong passwords, that you follow strong, secure practices for password management, and that you keep those passwords safe. Do not write them down. Do not make them easy to guess. Do not share those passwords. Um, it, if you share the password under a situation where you cannot avoid it, then rotate your password immediately after that. Um, Look at the logs of many sites. When you access a site from a place that is not normal or from a different computer, they will keep a record of that access. Well, make sure that you go and check those records to see that nobody's accessing those services, and be especially wary of your main email address. Your main email address can be used to recover many of the passwords of your other services. If you do not protect your mail email address, no matter how many multi-factor authentication and strong passwords you build in every other service, you will be at a loss. So protect your main email. If you haven't done that already, go now, as soon as we finish, and do that first. Well, these, I think, are very easy to understand. These are best practices. Essentially, your information is absolutely key. Your information can be used to either um, ransom you and compel you to pay them money to recover your information or not to share your information. It can also be used to take over your identity and even create bigger financial loss on your side. And certainly anything that you share, once you share it online, is shared. There is no you once you open the bag and let the cat out of the bag, there is no way to put it back in. So if you share anything online, make sure that you understand fully who you share it with. Every social media online service has security and privacy settings. Those settings are your friends. Look at those settings, understand what those settings mean, and share to those that you want to share to and not to everyone in the world. Again, I'll repeat this. Make sure that you understand who you are sharing things with and do not overshare. And know that when you put something in the internet, there is no way to take it back. Yeah. You can disable it, you can remove it, but if someone already copied it, it's already out there. So think twice and cut once, I guess. Do not put things out there unless you're absolutely sure that you want to put them out there. And configure your social media services so that you share with your group of friends. Do not overshare. Of course, some of these social media services, and we can have an argument all day long if we want, might be enticing you to share with the largest amount of people because, of course, they want to sell more eyes to their service, right? But regardless, because by law they are obligated to, they do have settings to set up privacy. Make sure that before even you do anything with them, before you use them, you understand those settings and you configure them correctly. Do not fall for the easy path in that case and just start sharing things without knowing who is going to be seeing those things. Um, Even if it's just single little details. For example, you might want to share pictures of your vacation while you're on vacation. That is great for your friends to see because they will be very happy that you're on vacation in a beautiful coastal place. But crooks that know where you live and want to go to your house, don't you think that they would love those pictures too? To know that you are not there at home and they can go and steal from your house today? So, again, even things that might have apparently little impact could be important. So, do not share the things with everyone, only share them with those that you want to share. So, back to sharing and digital footprint. So, as you do any of the things in social media, you leave these footprints, these fingerprints all over the place. These little crumbs of information out there, and the same way you can see in the detective movies out there where they follow the crumbs and they find the criminal. Well, criminals can follow those crumbs and get a good idea of you and your what you do, where you live, um, who you are, and they can use that to their advantage. So again, be careful as you publish any information out there. Be careful as you accept cookies out there in websites, and be careful which websites you visit and how you use them, because anything that you do there is potentially yet another clue for a criminal to take over an account that you have or to perform identity theft or any of the other attacks that we discussed. So if you are not very sure if this is secure or not, I'd say that you probably refrain to do that. Consult a friend, or there are plenty of organizations out there that provide good information about cybersecurity, especially for certain groups like seniors or teenagers. So make sure that you leverage one of those and don't just take a risk just because, well, what can happen, right? As we said before, there are certainly a number of pros in social media. Social media is great to connect you with others, find people that are like-minded, build a community of interest, share your hobbies, get into new ventures that you didn't think that you could do like before, and essentially can give you a huge opportunity and build a very fulfilling life after work once you retire and you think that you want to stay at home and maybe you feel like you can feel a little bit detached, right? Because you don't have that work community that you used to have before. Well, yes, it can give you all of the things, but be careful because there are risks, and those risks can be they can become a pretty hefty price to pay. So make sure that you fully understand what you're doing before you take advantage of some of those benefits. And of course, there are a number of ways to mitigate those risks. We went through several of these things throughout the talk. The only thing that I would add again here, I mentioned before, but I think it's good to mention it again, is that you should always update regularly your contact information, those things that you use the most, essentially because those allow you to recover your passwords if something goes wrong, like your phone number for your email address, and always monitor activity. If there is a way to monitor activity, familiarize yourself with that. Typically, it's within my account, in the service that you're accessing. Go there and see the activity. And if you find activity log on, for example, happening from a remote country that you've never been in, well, be concerned. There are ways to report this bad activity to the website that you are checking, and that can be quite helpful, not just to you, but also for them to prevent this from happening to others as well. For your own device, if you use corporate managed devices like the ones we provide in LexisNexis, certainly those are already configured securely, and we tend to harden them quite well for the most part, knocking on wood. But For your own personal devices, make sure that you also follow best practices there. Best practices are at least update the device regularly. Make sure that whenever there are patches for the device from the vendor, you install those. Do not fall for the pop-up that says you are insecure. Click here to install a patch. That's the tech support scam. That's bad. When you see updates from your vendor, Apple, Microsoft, yes, update those updates regularly, apply them regularly. Ensure that you keep your device up to date. Install only those applications that you need, no more. And when you install applications, install them from reputable sources. App Store is fine. Um, Google App Store is fine too. Um, Microsoft Application Store is fine. Websites that are well-known sites are fine. If you're going to install Chrome, if you go to the main Google Chrome site, well, that's fine. But if you see that you need to install an application that comes from a non-reputable source, please stop. Think about the risk. That application can be the reason you end up wasting tons of money, effort, pain, and compromising your health for no good reason. So stop, think about it, and then make the decision after you reason about it. Enable MFA or multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. Again, back, use YubiKeys, use authenticators on your phone, use secondary authentication factors that cannot be bypassed easily by attackers. None of those are. Those are strong. Passwords alone can be compromised. If someone manages to compromise your computer, they can recover the password when you're typing it. That's bad. But if you use a YubiKey or a authenticator token, the number rotates every few seconds. So even if they compromise that number, they won't know the next number. So at least you limit the amount of impact that they can produce. And if you have kids or grandkids, enable parental controls. Make sure that you also keep them safe, even though they may not understand all of the security aspects and privacy aspects of these things. By enabling those parental controls, you can guide them. You put these guardrails so they can stay safe until they get to an age where they can understand these things. If you have a network, of course, at home, make sure that you limit that network to those people that you know. So don't share your network with your entire neighborhood. And if you are using a network, well, make sure that your password, Wi-Fi password, is also secure. It's a difficult password. Rotate it regularly if you can. Also, if you have the ability to use a wired network instead of Wi-Fi, maybe wired is better because it will require that an attacker comes and plugs to your router, which is quite hard for someone that doesn't have the key to your home. So if you have a chance to use wired instead of wireless, maybe disable wireless and use wired. Do not use default passwords. Any Wi-Fi router that you buy will come with default passwords. Almost every one of those today will tell you immediately, change your password. Even if they don't, change your password. And as I said before, enable auto updates and update as soon as you can for new patches, and also install antivirus. Windows has default antivirus that works very well. If you have Mac OS or Linux or any other operating system, well, find a repeatable antivirus and install an antivirus. That's important. And to conclude, I think we had a good coverage of pretty much every topic that could be important out there. But main things to take away, if you can take away only a few things, are limit what you share. Do not overshare. Share only with those people that you know. Someone that you know online only, even though they may say they are your friend, they are not your friend or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. They are some stranger in the internet. Know them face to face before you believe anything they say. Do not share information, especially location, unnecessarily, especially if you're in vacation. Those beautiful vacation pictures taken in Hawaii while your home is vacated are probably a great incentive for bad actors to go to your home and pay you a visit while you're not there. So do not do that. Create strong passwords and use MFA as much as you can. Passphrases are great as well. Phrases of different words as part of a password. You can use password managers as well if you feel comfortable, because it's impossible to remember more than a few passwords. So those tend to work very well. But if you use a password manager, protect your password manager with a good, strong central password. Otherwise, your password manager can be the way the attacker gets access to all of your passwords, which is bad. Always, always think twice and cut once, right? Measure twice and cut once. In this case, slow down and think before you act. Update your software regularly. Check your privacy settings, especially in social media networks. Secure your devices and networks. And read the news. Stay up to date with the latest trends. See how someone else was compromised. Those lessons are always very important because they help you become more secure as well and stay on top of things. I hope this has been useful. And if you have any questions, I'll open now for questions.
Thank you, Flavio. That was a great presentation. So we do have some questions in the chat for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with those. So the first one is, can you supply some hotline numbers? I had a scam call one time and called my local police department, and they said to call the phone company.
Yeah. So even though I'm not saying that the phone company might not help, the phone company has a security department and they might investigate the things. They are probably not the most specific helper. You can contact them as well. That can help them protect other customers as well. But police departments tend to have hotlines for this, for cybercrime. There are also hotlines out there. If you just Google for the FBI hotline and the Secret Service hotlines, they have good cybersecurity law enforcement departments. Those are very good to use. The FTC also has a phone line for cyber fraud, especially against consumers. And last but not least, also the CFPB has also a hotline. So all of these are good resources for you to leverage in this case. And you don't need to stay just with one of them. You can contact all of them if you want, right? Not saying the more the merrier in this case, but sometimes if you don't feel like your police department is going to do anything about it, then maybe contacting some of the others might help. Police departments, they tend to be stranded by resources, right? They strapped by resources. They have only a few resources to tackle lots of things, and sometimes there are murders or other type of crimes that then take precedence, and they might not be able to do much unless the financial loss is very high. So they are a good first contact, of course, contact them as well, but it might be also useful to contact some of the others. FTC hotline, FBI, Secret Service, those are also quite useful.
Yeah, and I think our team can also help with that as well. We can always provide some hotline numbers for globally for everyone as well after this.
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, so then the next question is, Alan was saying antivirus in the cloud. And then Jennifer came in and said for a laptop, the antivirus needs to be loaded on the laptop. And yes, we do also have antivirus in our product clouds for the company.
I think so. Those 2 points are important. So your laptop runs software. The software runs locally. You need an antivirus locally. There is no way to otherwise look at the software that is running your laptop. Your attacker might be already in your laptop, right? Compromising your software or with the piece of malware that they deployed. So you cannot get away without running antivirus there. But if you use cloud environments, also those cloud environments can be compromised. So you need to have also an antivirus there. There are some cloud environments that people use nowadays. I don't know how many of you have any experience in gaming, but there are services like GeForce Now that provide machines in the cloud to do gaming. Those machines, in the case of GeForce Now, they are fairly secure because they are only dedicated to that one gaming session and they go away after that. So that's not much of a concern. But there are other cases like in VPN providers and others where you have a machine there that is fairly persistent. Those should have also antivirus in the cloud, or you might end up having a risk that you didn't know about there. So antivirus on your machine, yeah, that needs to run on your machine. But also, if you use cloud services where you have a fairly persistent session in that cloud service, you might need to have antivirus there too.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, someone also said recently our HOA website, a person got to know someone over time. The person asked for small amounts to borrow over a period of time and they paid it back. Then after a period of time, they asked for a bigger loan amount, $2,000. And They were never heard from again. Phone numbers and emails were no longer in use. So
Yes.
that's just an example of a scam that can happen, right?
And that is exactly how it happens. They go slow. They know you. They know how much you're going to do. If someone comes asking for $2,000 up front and you don't know the person, you are not going to give them $2,000. But if this is a person that you've known, air quotes, for several months or even years, online, and before they ask you for $50 and you gave them $50 and they repay you $55, you think that these people are honest people because you've known them. They are your friend, right? Yes, you get the idea. That's exactly
Yeah.
how it happens.
Yeah. All right. And then another question. This is a good question. Should you use the save password feature within your browser?
That is a very good question. And look, safe password features also work well. Those are password managers as well. They can be protected by multi-factor authentication in some cases, depending on the browser, and they are fairly secure. The benefit that some of these have is that they are also shared online across different browser sessions. So if you have 3 or 4 different devices, your phone, your computer, your work computer, you can use the same passwords across all of these devices. Well, you can access the websites with the passwords from any one of these devices. So from that standpoint, they are quite convenient. They come already built in, and they don't force you to learn a new application software to manage your passwords. So they might work. Configure them securely, of course. Make sure that they support strong authentication as well. They require multi-factor. So, for example, you use the Chrome feature. In order to enable that Chrome feature, you are required to log into your email account. If you enable your email account to have Authenticator, then your email account will require your YubiKey before you can access it. So if you go to a new device and you install Chrome, when you try to enable that, it will ask you for the username and password for your email address and your YubiKey. That is fairly secure. An attacker that will try to get access to your passwords from that Chrome authenticator will have a pretty hard time to reproduce all of this for you. So from that standpoint, that works. Not better, not worse necessarily than any other password manager. What you should never do is write down your passwords, right? Or your username, or reuse. This is something that I haven't said, but I thought this was pretty obvious. You should never, ever reuse the same password in more than one website. Password should be only for one website. That's it. The password is like your husband or your wife. You don't go sharing them with anyone else. Same thing here. You just use them in one place. 7 different website, different password.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Just like that. I
Okay.
don't. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about personal habits, so I don't know if you share your wife or your husband. But if you do, then this doesn't apply to you.
Oh, you do you, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, so then when our LN laptops receive updates, are those updates backing up our computers and running malware?
When you apply an update, the update will usually fix a vulnerability or a defect on the software of the computer. We apply those regularly because there are new vulnerabilities discovered all the time, and the updates that the vendors provide are addressing those vulnerabilities. This assumes that your computer was safe to start with, even without the update, that the antivirus was taking care of that until the update was published, or that the attackers didn't get to your computer faster than the update got to your computer. If the computer has been already compromised, if there is malware in the computer already before the vulnerability, when either before the vulnerability was known or after it was known, but before the patch was applied, that computer is compromised. The update does not remove the compromise. The update does not remove the malware if there is malware involved. So updates are necessary, but this is why it's also an antivirus, something that you should have always enabled and running, because that will help you deal with malware. If the computer is compromised, and it's not just malware, but it's fully compromised, then it does require to take other actions, including forensics and other things that we do in our corporate managed devices. If that happens, we have lots of rings and whistles and bells that will come off, and we will address that for a particular computer, up to, and in some cases, reinstalling the computer entirely if the compromise cannot be cleaned up securely, properly. But the update helps us stay secure if the computer has not been compromised. If there is a known vulnerability, you need to apply the update as soon as you can. If you apply the update, it is very likely, highly likely, that your computer will not be compromised. Um, but it could be. And if it is, then all of the other things can. This is why running antivirus and applying updates are both important things. You need to do both. It's not either one or the other.
All right, thank you. Okay, so for the next question, it's another good question. How do you safely delete a document that has been emailed to you and it contains sensitive PII?
That is a very good question and very hard to do. There are mechanisms to do secure deletion, and certain software provides with that. Secure deletion essentially means, so the computer hard drives and SSDs and USB drives and any other storage device out there, they store the content of a file, and then um, they they store the content of a file, and then they store a reference to where that file is. That reference is what you see when you open your file manager or you do a dir or an ls in your computer. You see a list of files. That list of files with the name, those are the references to the actual files that are stored in your hard drive, in your storage device. When you delete something, what the deletion process will do is remove the reference. The file might still be there, it's just that the reference is no longer there. This is why when you delete the file will no longer appear. If you use a modern operating system like Windows, the file will now appear in your recovery trash can. A way to securely delete that, if the file is there, is to empty the contents of your trash can. You can right-click there and say empty the contents. That will eliminate them from there. Now, there could be still traces to the file contents in your hard drive, even if you do that. It is erasing the entirety of a file, especially in a large file, is very expensive for the operating system in terms of compute. So they will try to avoid that unless it's absolutely necessary. And the only way to do it absolutely necessary is to overwrite it with another file or with content, random content, for example. There is software especially designed to do this, and there are some pieces of software like PGP and others that allow you to do that. But you need to go a little bit out of your way to be able to delete those. You can do it. There are secure ways to completely wipe contents of files. You might not need to get there. Files, contents will eventually be overwritten when you continue to use your hard drive. But yes, there is a period of time where there could be some exposure. If someone manages to get privileged access to your hard drive and they have forensic tools, they may be able to recover parts or all of that file that was there that you deleted and wiped from your recovery trash can. We can provide you with some of the tools. If you want, you can reach out to me or anyone in information security. We can give you some of the tools to secure file deletion. There are a number of those. They tend to be more technical in nature, a little bit more involved. It's not a simple process, but they address the inquiry that you have.
Awesome. Thank you, Flavio. So in the interest of time, we have a lot of great questions in here. We only have time for one more, and I'm going to ask one in here that I like. However, if you don't mind, we'll grab all the rest of the questions we haven't gotten to and send them to you, and then we'll send those out at a later date. Okay, great. So here's the last question I think is a good one that I'm sure you'll love to answer, Flavio. Does ChatGPT put us at risk? I haven't used it due to guarding my own privacy.
Well, I thought we spent the entire hour without talking about ChatGPT. This hard to do nowadays.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. But ChatGPT might expose your privacy the same way Google does. Anything that you post there when you are searching for something or when you're asking a question can be out there for someone else to grab, even if it's the company that is providing the service. In this case, OpenAI for ChatGPT or Google for your Google search. So yes, anything that you post there could be accessible to someone else. The content that they already have that content. So if you are asking ChatGPT to write your bio, the content for your bio will come from the storage that they already have in the training material that they got. So asking the question doesn't expose your privacy. It is the training material, the training content that exposes your privacy. That's independent. Someone else can ask the same question. Ask, give me your bio, and it will give you your bio. Um, what it should be a little bit more concerning is if you are providing information to ChatGPT to do something with that information, and that information is sensitive. For example, if you are working on a document and you want someone to write a nice summary of the document, you could take a document and send it as part of a query to ChatGPT and say, summarize this document. Now, you send a document that is confidential now to ChatGPT the same way you would send a document to like Google. And as you can imagine, there is no guarantee that document will stay private in any way. As a matter of fact, there is almost a guarantee that they will review the document later on because it will be part of the logs in those queries. So that's something that could expose your privacy or a confidential document from the company. I use ChatGPT every day, and well, maybe every few days. And I use it for things like, for example, writing a presentation. I might have a topic, so I ask ChatGPT to write a little summary of the topic, and then I enhance the summary or whatever, and then I ask it with that enhanced summary to write to give me a slide deck, the list of slides that I would use for this presentation for an hour for an audience of this type with this type of focus. And it's pretty good at doing that. And then I can ask it to generate prompts for stable diffusion so that I can create the graphics that go in each one of the slides. So each one of the visuals, ChatGPT can write the prompts, and then I can use the same prompts to generate those images. It can also generate an abstract for the talk. All of the things are okay as long as the content is public. So if we are doing a talk about security awareness, there is nothing confidential about that. It's perfectly fine to do this. If you are going to be sharing a company document or a personal document, I'd say that you should probably refrain with that. There are commercial offerings for ChatGPT where they provide guarantees of confidentiality. That's the right forum to share any of those documents. Otherwise, you should not.
All right. Thank you, Flavio. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Again, we'll grab all the questions that we didn't answer and send them to Flavio, and then we'll send his answers back out to you all at a different time. Um, that's it from us. Great presentation. Thanks again, Flavio, for coming. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And see you next time. Have a great week.
Thank you very much. Have a great week, folks.
Thank you. Bye.